Presenter is Danielle Begg with the Yoga Impact Charity from Sydney.
Hi there, absolutely. So just to give you a quick introduction to the Yoga Impact Charity, we are an organisation that share evidence-based, trauma-informed yoga programs globally, and we've shared over 2,000 evidence-based, trauma-informed yoga programs since 2015. We share with a range of different groups, not just healthcare workers, which I'm speaking about today. We also share programs with refugees healing from torture and trauma, survivors of sexual and family violence, survivors of detention and people who are currently in detention, as well as Aboriginal carers and special forces. And what I'm going to be sharing to you today is with the healthcare workers during COVID-19. So we know that prior to COVID-19, healthcare workers have been struggling with intense pressure of their work, but that, of course, this was intensified as a result of the pandemic. And there's been an increase in post-traumatic stress disorder, depression, and anxiety. We know also that there's an increased recognition of the importance of the mind and the body in the treatment of trauma symptoms. And this is largely thanks to the work of Bessel van der Kolk. There's a lot of research that describes not just the benefits of yoga for trauma, but also the benefits when it comes to reducing stress and burnout for healthcare workers. The aims of our research or evaluation was to look at the impact of virtual yoga classes during COVID-19 on healthcare workers. We were particularly interested in looking at the impact on their physical health, the impact on mental health, sleep quality, and also the impact on their ability to cope with the challenges of their work. So we invited healthcare workers in Australia and the UK to join free virtual yoga classes between May and August 2020. The classes were delivered every day, Monday to Friday, between 6:30 and 7:30 Australian Eastern Standard Time. This was across a 12-week period. The classes were tailored for healthcare workers by sharing trauma-informed movement and breathing techniques to promote self-regulation. We shared 59 classes and we delivered them to 629 healthcare workers. We invited participants during week 4 and week 8 to complete a questionnaire that was exploring how yoga impacted their well-being. So 57 participants completed the questionnaire, and we saw an impact on a range of different levels. So in terms of physical well-being, almost 97 participants reported that they felt more relaxed as a result of their yoga class. They said that they noticed a difference through back, shoulders, and neck. I feel absolute bliss after every virtual session. Practicing this is very helpful to ease my tension, which is unavoidable in my job. 93% of participants also reported that they felt more calm as a result of participating in yoga. One participant said, "It seems to dissolve your worries and stresses too. I'm feeling more hopeful too." In terms of the quality of sleep, almost 54 participants reported that yoga helped to improve their sleep. And whilst this statistic might not seem impressive, a number of people said that they weren't actually struggling with sleep difficulties at this time, and that at the end of the day, they felt very exhausted. So, of course, this number just represents people who already were having difficulty with sleep. People said that yoga centers you before bed, making it easier to relax. And I generally sleep better if I've done yoga. In terms of ability to cope at work, almost 71% of participants reported that practicing yoga had a positive impact on their ability to cope with their job. And they remarked that when I make some quiet time to nurture myself, I cope with everything better. And I can sometimes take the relaxation and calm from the mat into challenging situations. So in conclusion, a majority of the participants in the healthcare workers yoga program reported improvements in their physical and mental health and well-being after practicing yoga virtually. And in the future, we are seeking to explore this in terms of a randomized controlled trial, possibly looking at using exercise as a comparison group. And I also want to stress the importance of tailoring the intervention to the needs of the group. Thank you so much for staying with me, and I look forward to your questions. Thank you.
Thank you. Okay, looks like we still have a good number of people here. So any questions for our final presenter, for Danielle? Of course, I have questions, although my brain is not working quite as well as it was 10, 11 hours ago. But let me start with just the online delivery. What did you learn about that? Were there any the pros and cons of online delivery? Because I think we're all kind of moving into that world more and more.
Yeah, so in terms of the online delivery, there were, of course, a lot of challenges in comparison to an in-person class. Being a trauma-informed approach, it was people's choices whether or not they turn their cameras on or off. And that enabled people to feel completely comfortable to attend with privacy. And also, there were a number of people who joined the classes who'd never ever done yoga before. Or hadn't practiced in a very long time. And a lot of people actually commented that doing it in this way helped them feel less embarrassed. They felt more confident when they were trying the online classes with nobody watching them. So that was an interesting positive that came out of participating in this virtual way. We also encourage participants at the end of each class, if they felt comfortable, to share and check in with how they're feeling in the chat window. And also if they have any issues, to stick around and chat with the yoga teacher after the class.
So correct me if I'm wrong, but it sounds like they were live classes then. They were live. And I was wondering if you fostered any sense of community. How many people were in there at a time?
That's a great question. So the classes range from between 4 and kind of 25 people for each class. And there's absolutely a sense of community that developed between people who were located in Australia and the UK, which was really cool. The classes are still running now. They're still free. So we continued the classes the entire time, and so we're a year later, people now are the people who have still participated in the initial offering. So there's a strong sense of community that was able to be developed even in this forum, which a lot of participants said was very helpful, especially during a time when people were locked down and weren't able to connect with each other at all.
Mm-hmm. That's wonderful. Thank you for all of that. Let me look in the chat. I think there's a couple items. Did healthcare workers get organizational support to participate? How did they experience the time commitment given their busy schedules?
Yeah, great question. So we invited people to come to the live classes, and then if people weren't able to take time, and of course with shift workers that can be really difficult, we just asked them to flick us an email, and then we sent them the recorded versions so they could do it at a time that it was appropriate for them.
Please keep any additional questions going or any follow-up questions to what Danielle is saying. I have so many because I'm thinking about embarking on this on an online program I'm working on and wanting to foster that while also foster community while also protecting privacy, being trauma sensitive, all of those different things. So we've had lots of discussions about the use of cameras and the messaging and all of that. A different question was about the frequency, because you had a wide range of the number of classes. This will be a 2-part question. I'm happy to repeat the second part. But I was curious, I think you said, 3 to 15 classes. I thought, over what period of time? So what was the frequency? How close together were those classes? And did you look at if number of classes related to any of those outcomes that you were reporting on?
Yeah, so the classes ran every day, Monday to Friday, for the period of 12 weeks. And one of the reasons why we did that was because we recognised that it is so difficult for healthcare workers to find time. And so really one of the ways that we wanted to ensure there was accessibility was providing that frequency and just having it every day. Mm-hmm. And so we have ended up now, so that was for 12 weeks. Now we run the classes twice a week because we've spoken to the community about what works best and what dates suit best, and we've kind of modified. But initially, when we were trying to be as accessible as possible, we wanted to offer it kind of every single day during the work week so that people could find 1 or 2 days at least where it might fit with their schedule.
Mm-hmm.
Sorry, I'm just reading some questions in terms of the recording.
Did the one about keeping your cameras on? Oh, do you
yes.
know what uptake was like on the live recordings? Okay, I'll let you can see it. I'll let you take it from here.
Sorry. In terms of the recordings, it tended to be, we have a list of people who can't make the live classes, and that kind of group of people have been receiving the recordings on a weekly basis kind of for the last year. And in terms of participants keeping their camera on, there were people who did keep their camera on and who said that it was particularly helpful for them to connect to somebody during the time, especially someone who wasn't at work. Predominantly, participants did keep their cameras off. And so that was quite different for yoga teachers delivering a program in comparison to in person. But predominantly, people did prefer to keep their privacy and did enjoy that benefit. But some people also said that they did enjoy having the camera on as well and connecting in that way. And people also, even though they couldn't see each other when the cameras were off, obviously got to know each other's names and also began chatting with each other in the chat as well.
Very interesting. That relates back to the earlier study. I think it was Anne-Marie's, looking at those different levels of just digital versus live, and the pros and cons to each of those and what the differences in the outcomes might be. And likely there's a lot of individual variables going on there.